How are you, my people? I'm just preparing to continue with the data questions. Then after that, I will give one other video on the practical series. So let me go through this data question of 2007. Now, the idea is this. What if I told you there is a simple trick to make your biology graphs stand out and get top marks? You keep watching to discover how. By the end of this video, you will not only know how to draw biology graphs correctly, guys, but you also feel confident when analyzing and presenting data for a biological experiment. In this experiment, to determine the effect of ringing of concentration of sugar in phloem, a ring of bark from the stem of a tree was cut and removed. The amount of the sugar in grams per 16 cubic centimeters piece of bark above the ring was measured over a 24-hour period. Sugar was also measured in the bark of a similar stem of a tree which was not ringed. And the results are shown in the table below. So what is your assignment today? Using the same axis, you are supposed to plot a graph of the amount of sugar against time. And guys, I will make you understand this one in detail. So welcome to the data question. So now, I've already introduced, and this is what I told you. By the end of this video, you will not only know how to draw biology graphs correctly, but you also feel confident when analyzing and presenting data for in a biology experiment. If you ever felt confused about where to start with graphing or struggled to present your data clearly, this video is for you. I'll take you the basics to the finer points, ensuring you feel prepared and ready to tackle any biology experiment with confidence. The question is that, and already sent it to you, in an experiment to determine the effect of ringing of concentration of sugar in phloem, a ring on bark from the stem of a tree was cut and removed. The amount of sugar in grams per 16 cubic centimeters piece of bark above the ring was measured over a 24-hour period. Sugar was also measured in the bark of a similar stem of a tree which was not ringed. The results were as shown in the table below, and using now the results, you are drawing a graph on the same axis of the amount of sugar against the time. The purpose of the experiment is to investigate the effect of sugar concentration in the phloem above ringed section of the bark by comparing the sugar levels in the bark above a ring where the phloem is disrupted to that in a non-ringed tree. The experiment aims to demonstrate how the flow of nutrients is affected when the transport pathway is interrupted. Remember, the flow of nutrients occurs in the phloem tissue. So that is the table. Time of the day from 0645 to 0045. Amount of sugar in grams per 16 cubic centimeters of bark, normal stem, and ringed. So you can see the normal stem goes from 0.78, 0.80, 0.81, 0.80, 0.77, and 0.73, while the ringed goes around like 0.78, 0.91, 1.01, 1.04, 1.00, 0.95, and 0.88. What is the importance of this graph? The importance of the graph lies in its ability to visually represent the data collected during the experiment. It helps to illustrate trends and differences in sugar concentration over time, making it easier to understand the impact of ringing on phloem function. A well-drawn graph enhances data interpretation, enabling clear communication of the experiment's findings and their biological significance. Steps for drawing the graph. I will use a line graph for this experiment because it effectively displays changes in sugar concentration over time. Because, of course, you know there are other graphs like bar graphs. A line graph is particularly appropriate for this type of data for several reasons. Continuous data. The measurements of the sugar concentration are collected at regular time intervals, making it suitable for a line graph, which is designed to show trends over continuous data. Trend visualization. A line graph allows viewers to easily see how sugar concentration increase or decrease over time, highlighting any patterns or significant changes that occur after the ringing. Comparison. By plotting two lines, one for the ringed sample and one for the non-ringed sample, we can directly compare the effects of ringing on sugar concentration, making it clear how the disruption affects nutrient transport. Clarity. Line graphs provide a clear visual representation, helping to convey complex information in an accessible way, which is especially important in educational concepts. Overall, using a line graph will enhance the understanding of the experiment's results and the physiological implications of phloem functioning in trees. Step-by-step guide to plotting the graph. Here is a step-by-step guide to plotting the graph of the amount of sugar against time using the provided data. While I can't create the graph directly, I can decide how to do it. Okay? Steps to plot the graph. Set up the axis. X-axis, label this axis, time of the day, hours, and it is presented with the time intervals provided, e.g. 0645 and 0945, etc. Y-axis. Label this axis, amount of sugar, grams per 16 cubic centimeters of bark. Ensure the scale accommodates the sugar value from around 0.66 to 1.04 grams. Second thing is you prepare data points. From the table, list the data points for both the normal and ringed stems. For the normal stem, the data points are shown. 7 of them, 0, 645 will be mapped onto 0.78, 0.945, and 0.80, 12.45, 0.81, 15.45 will be plotted against 0.80, 1845 plotted against 0.77, 2145 will be plotted against 0.73, and finally 0.045 plotted against 0.66. So there you have, when you plot the graph, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 points on that graph. Similarly, for the ringed stem, you have the same time. 0.645 corresponds to 0.78, 0.945 corresponds to 0.91, 12.45 corresponds to 1.01, 15.45 corresponds to 1.04, 18.45 corresponds to 1.00, and 21.45 corresponds to 0.95, and 0.045 corresponds to 0.88. So what are you doing? When plotting graphs, you know what we do. We pick the point on the x-axis, and then we pick the point on the y-axis. Then we put a mark using a cross. The cross is emphasized in mathematics, but in biology you can put a dot. I will not plot the graph based on this. I will now plot the graph based on this data. Plot the points. For each time point, plot the corresponding sugar amount for both the normal stem using one color or symbol and the ringed stem using another color or symbol. For example, for the time 0.645, plot the point 0.645, 0.78 for both stems, as I showed you. I mentioned earlier. Connect the points. Use lines to connect the points for each stem. This creates two separate lines on the same graph, one for the normal stem and one for the ringed stem. Under legend or under key, include a key to differentiate, or the one legend is the same as key. Include a legend to differentiate between the normal and the ringed stems. For example, label one line normal stem and the other ringed stem. Final touches. Make sure the graph is clear and easy to read. Check that the axes are labeled correctly and the data points are accurately plotted. Example of what the graph might show. The graph will likely show that the sugar concentration in the ringed stem increases over time, whereas the normal stem shows relatively stable values, looking at those table results. This visual comparison will help illustrate the effect of ringing on sugar transport. Once completed, your graph will provide a clear visual representation of the experimental results. So that is your graph. Using the same axis, plot a graph of the amount of sugar against time. You can see now how to mark the graph. You can see we have started the graph exactly on the y-axis. On the y-axis, yes. Okay. 0.78 is being shared by the two stems. And from there now deviation comes. So you can see for plotting you get 2 marks for both the curves. For smooth curve, have half for the normal stem and the ring stem. Then we have identification, have half. Scale, you get half a mark, all right, for each curve. And axis, labeling of the axis. So the total will be 6 marks. At what time was the amount of sugar highest in the stem? For the ringed stem, if you look at the graph, it will be 15.45 hours. For the normal stem, it will be 12.45 hours. How much sugar would be into ringed stem if it was measured 0.345? It would be between 0.80 to 0.81 grams per 16 cubic centimeters. Give reasons why there was sugar in the stems of both trees at 0.645 hours. This is because of there was stored sugar and photosynthesis had started taking place. All right. Account for the shape of the graph for the tree with the ring stem between 1645 and 1545 hours. Here, there is fast or rapid increase in sugar level due to photosynthesis and accumulation of sugar above the ring. 1545 hours and 0045 hours is there is a decrease in sugar level due to respiration or due to slowed down rate of photosynthesis. So you can either say respiration due to respiration or slowed down rate of photosynthesis, and you get a mark. You cannot get 2 marks, it's only 1. So you choose of the two. Name the structures in phloem that are involved in translocation of sugars. We have sieve tube elements and sieve tube elements, or sieve elements, or sieve tube, companion cells, and the cytoplasmic strands, or you can call them cytoplasmic filaments, or protein filaments, or protein fibers, where you mark only 2, any 2. Other than sugars, name 2 compounds that are translocated in phloem. We have amino acids, hormones, oils or lipins, lysines, and vitamins. First two. Mark the first 2. Correct. Analyzing the graph. In analyzing the line graph of sugar concentration in the phloem above the ringed bag compared to the non-ringed sample, we can observe several key trends. Initial sugar concentration. Both the ringed and non-ringed samples may start with similar initial sugar concentrations, indicating that before the ringing, the trees had comparable levels of stored sugar. Decrease in ringed sample. After the ringing, the sugar concentration in the back above the ring tends to decrease significantly over time. This decline reflects disruption of phloem transport, preventing the downward flow of sugars produced in the leaves. Stabilization or minimal change in a non-ringed sample. In contrast, the non-ringed sample likely shows a more stable or slightly increasing sugar concentration, indicating that the phloem is functioning normally, allowing for the continuous transport. Allowing for the continuous transport of sugars throughout the tree. The rate of decrease in the ringed sample may accelerate shortly after ringing, suggesting an immediate impact on sugar transport, while the non-ringed sample maintains a consistent level. Implication of the trends. These trends illustrate the critical role of phloem in nutrient transport. The observed decrease in sugar concentration in the ringed sample highlights the importance of uninterrupted phloem for maintaining the tree's health and energy balance. Overall, the graph provides compelling evidence of how ringing affects sugar transport, reinforcing the concept that phloem is essential for distributing nutrients in plants. To conclude the presentation, the observed trends in sugar concentration from the experiment are significant for understanding the biological functions of phloem in trees. Nutrient transport. The decrease in sugar concentration in the ringed sample illustrates the phloem's critical role in transporting nutrients produced in the leaves down to the other parts of the tree. This transport is essential for supporting growth, development, and energy storage. Impact of disruption. The sharp decline in sugar levels above the ring highlights how vulnerable the nutrient transport system is to disruption. It emphasizes that any damage to the phloem, such as through ringing, can lead to insufficient sugar supply to the vital areas, which can affect overall tree health and vitality. Energy allocation. The stabilization of sugar concentration in the non-ringed sample signifies that, under normal conditions, the tree efficiently allocates energy throughout its tissues. This balance is vital for functions such as root growth, leaf expansion, and reproduction. Understanding tree physiology. The experiment underscores the intricate relationship between structure and function in plants. The findings contribute to a broader understanding of plant physiology and the mechanisms behind resource distribution. Ecological implication. The results have ecological implications as well. They highlight how environmental stresses that damage phloem can impact not just individual trees, but entire ecosystems, influencing species interaction and biodiversity. In summary, the trends observed in sugar concentration are not just data points, they provide valuable insight into the importance of phloem in tree physiology and its broader ecological implication. This understanding is crucial for forest management, conservation, and agricultural practices. The experiment demonstrated that ringing a tree's bark significantly impacts sugar concentration in the phloem above the ring. Key findings include decrease in sugar concentration. The ringed samples showed a marked decline in sugar levels over time, indicating that the disruption of the phloem transport system affects the distribution of essential nutrients. Comparison with the non-ringed sample. In contrast, the non-ringed samples maintained stable or increasing sugar concentration, underscoring the normal function of phloem in transporting sugars from the leaves to other parts of the plant. Implication for understanding phloem function, critical role in nutrient transport. The findings highlight the essential function of phloem in distribution of carbohydrates, crucial for trees' growth, energy storage, and overall health. Vulnerability to disruption. The experiment illustrates how sensitive the phloem is to physical damage, emphasizing the need for protecting trees from practices that may harm their vascular systems. Influence on tree health and ecosystems. Understanding how disruption in phloem function affect nutrient allocation can inform forest management and conservation strategies, as healthy phloem is vital for the survival of not just individual trees, but entire ecosystems. Overall, the experiment enhances our understanding of phloem physiology and its significance in plant health, growth, and ecological interactions. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions about the experiment or the law of the phloem in trees, I would love to hear from you in the comments. Feel free to share your thoughts, insights, or any experiences you have had related to this topic in the comments below. Engaging in discussion helps deepen our understanding. So let's continue the conversation. Goodbye, guys, and see you in my next video.